So we all know we can claim business meals. We all know we can claim car expenses. We all know we can claim a home office. But did you know you can also claim business travel? What's up everybody, my name is Tyra and welcome back to the Keeper Tax YouTube channel, your one-stop shop for all things 1099 taxes. Here on this channel, we create resources for freelancers, independent contractors, gig workers, and anyone else who should be filing business taxes. I want to welcome you back to another episode in the 1099 Tax University series where I give you the tax content you need to set yourself up for success as a gig worker. I am here to open you guys' eyes to the world of 1099 taxes, and today we are diving into travel related tax write-offs. This is something I absolutely never thought about when I first started filing 1099 taxes. So if this is blowing your mind right now and we haven't even gotten started, get your pens and papers ready, y'all. Contrary to what you may think, you don't have to fly first class or stay at a fancy hotel to claim travel expense tax deductions. If you travel to conferences, visit a worksite, or even just wanted a change of scenery, well, sometimes, and we'll dive into that a bit later, these things can qualify as business travel. So before looking at specific deductible business expenses, we need to understand what is considered travel and if you meet the additional IRS guidelines regarding business and travel expenses. So first, what is your tax home? We can deduct travel expenses anytime we are traveling away from home, but depending on where your home is, the IRS's definition of home can get pretty complicated. So your home is not necessarily where you and your family lives. In order to determine what is considered travel expenses, you will need to define your tax home. Let's say that you live in Los Angeles, but you work in Las Vegas during the week. Then your tax home will be wherever you are in Vegas, and this is because this is where you spend most of your work time, even if you travel back home on the weekends, just to give you an example of how that works. Now that we found our tax home, the next step is making sure that your expenses qualify as business-related travel expenses. And the number one rule of making sure that these expenses will qualify is that your trip must be mostly business. The IRS will measure your time away in days. So if you spend more days doing business activities, it is considered to be an eligible travel expense. And don't forget, your travel days are also counted as work days. On the other hand, if you are traveling for personal reasons but still conduct business while traveling, there could be a tax deduction. For example, let's say that you went on vacation to Hawaii and you have a client there. Your client is only a 30-minute drive from where you're staying for your personal vacay. So you decide to take them out to lunch, to a place that you found on Pinterest that you said you had to go to while you're in Hawaii. Then you can deduct the standard 50% cost of the meal because it directly ties to your business. Your trip must also be an ordinary and necessary expense. The IRS uses the term ordinary and necessary a lot when discussing business travel expenses. Ordinary means, given the industry you are in, the expense is not extraneous. Necessary means the expense was incurred for the sake of carrying out business activities. For example, if there are two conferences available to you, one is in your hometown and the other one is in Dubai, you cannot take a trip and consider it necessary. You'd have to go to the conference in your hometown. So interesting fact, if you are traveling abroad for business purposes, the restrictions actually relax. You only need to spend 25% of your time on business related activities for the bulk of your travel to be considered business. So if you spend less than 25% of your time on business related activities, you can still deduct your travel costs on a proportional basis. Now that we've discussed some restrictions on business travel, let's discuss the rules or guidelines so you can be armed with knowledge and know what truly is a business travel expense. So the IRS does have a few very simple guidelines to follow to determine whether a trip is for business. Your destination should be far, at least 100 miles away from home. That's like a 2-hour drive or any kind of plane ride. The trip should require you to rest or sleep somewhere that isn't your home. And you should be working regular hours while on the trip. In general, that means 8 hours a day of work-related activity. It's definitely fine to take personal time in the evenings, and you can still take weekends off, but you can't take a half-hour call from Disneyland and call it a business trip. The trip should also last less than a year. Once you've been somewhere for over a year, you're essentially living there. But let's say that your work is seasonal. Traveling for like 6 months at a time, that's fine. Now let me give you a quick example to illustrate these rules in action. So let's say that you are a freelancer on Upwork and you live in Wyoming. You moved down to live with your sister in San Diego, California for the winter to expand your client network and work regular hours while you're there, like Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Your flights, meals, sublet expenses, and shipping expenses, if you have any, are all tax deductible. Just make sure that you keep up with all of those expenses. I think one of the easiest ways to keep up with all of that is by using an app that was made specifically for tracking your tax write-offs, and that app, my friends, is called Keeper Tax. Just go into the App Store, download the app, and Keeper Tax will automatically categorize your business expenses. What travel expenses can I deduct? As a general rule of thumb, all travel-related expenses while you are on a business trip are tax deductible. You can also claim meals while traveling, but you have to be careful with entertainment expenses like going out for drinks. So, cool story. Well, it's probably not that cool, but story time. I used to wait tables in high school, and I grew up in a very small touristy town in Louisiana. And on the weekends for lunch, there would be tons of businessmen, and they would always pay for their meals with their business cards and separate out any beer or wine that they purchased and pay for it separately. Well, they would have like 3 or 4 drinks each, so maybe that's why they did it. But if you're having 1 glass of wine with your lunch, I'm sure it would be okay to pay for all of that with your business card. Here are some common types of travel-related write-offs you should keep an eye out for. Number 1 is all transportation. Any transportation costs are a travel tax deduction. This includes traveling by airplane, train, bus, or car to and from your tax home to the business destination. It's important to point out that if you are provided with airfare by the person or the company you are meeting with, or if you use your frequent traveler miles, then this is not a deductible expense because your cost will be 0. But if you use those credit cards that give you Sky Miles for your purchases, and any of your baggage fees are also deductible as well. If you rent a car to go on a business trip, then the car rental is a qualified business expense and it will be tax deductible. If you drive your own vehicle, you can take actual costs or use the IRS standard mileage deduction, and we have a full video explaining this method. So if you would like to learn more about that, check it out on the YouTube channel. But keep in mind, if you choose to take the actual cost, then your business related actual costs for the entire year should also be reported. You can't take the actual cost for some business purposes and the standard mileage deducted for others. You must choose one. So flight, train, and car rental expenses all count as tax write-offs, but don't forget that your Uber and Lyft rides to and from the airport are also tax deductible as well. The next one is lodging. Your hotels, motels, Airbnb stays, sublets on Craigslist, or even reimbursing a friend for sleeping on their couch are all tax deductible lodging expenses as well. I recommend if you stay on a friend's couch, have them send you an invoice on PayPal or something like that so you can have record of that for your taxes. You can also write off meals while traveling. You can only deduct a portion of your business meals and entertainment expenses, even if your trip is entirely for business purposes, and the expenses need to specifically facilitate business. The overall deduction for qualifying expenses is 50%. This means that during a random night off, you can't deduct the cost of meals. However, grabbing a burger alone in your airport terminal does count. Even if you buy groceries and takeout, Those are tax deductible meal expenses while traveling. Next is Wi-Fi. Airplane Wi-Fi, hotel Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi everywhere is completely deductible when you're traveling for work. This includes other communication expenses like hotspots and even international calls. Then we have shipping. If you need to ship things as a part of your trip, such as conference booth materials or simply extra clothes, those expenses are also tax deductible. Then we have dry cleaning. So if you have to look your best on your trip, all related expenses are tax deductible. That necessity includes washing and cleaning charges. But what about digital nomads? So we live in an age of social media. So there are tons of people who want to live and work remotely. And honestly, some people are killing the game at it. But what does that mean for travel-related tax write-offs for people who are working while traveling the world? So, as long as you have some work-related reason for why the travel helps with your contracting or freelancing work, then the excursion counts as a business travel expense. So that means reasons like meeting with local clients or attending a local conference and then extending your stay. But if you're a remote freelance software developer working in Thailand because you like the weather, that's not business travel. I'm so sorry to say. I really wish it was. Now, I know we discussed a lot in this video, but there are still some things that we did not hit, like travel-related expenses that are not deductible and penalties that go along with that. So if you guys would like another video about travel-related write-offs, please let me know in the comments below. And also, if you have any questions, as always, put them down in the comments below as well. But that is all that I have for you guys today, and I really hope you learned something. And if you would like more easy to digest tax content, make sure that you give this video a like. And if you have not already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and make sure your notifications are on so you can get all of the alerts and stay up to date with all things Keeper Tax and all things self-employed taxes. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.